But one point I do agree with you, we do need to give each other the leg up, because you know what? The big, and I'm gonna go back to this nepotism thing, yeah? The biggest thing that I'm seeing now that I'm working with corporates, yeah? And one of the reasons why we are behind as a community in the UK in particular, I would say a majority of it is lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
And lack of access and lack of door opening, right?
Yeah, facts.
And it's not that we're less than, and yes, there will be element of systemic racism and people might face, but I actually think a lot of it is the fact that we're not sharing enough information, and we're not really
we're gatekeeping
too much.
Yeah.
In America, there's less gatekeeping because they actually understand racism is real for them. Racism is in their face, right?
Very
so they very much get
very
it.
refreshing the racism out there.
100%. So they're able to do it that way.
The things they go through,
They can see it.
Yeah, it's on a different level.
Yeah, whereas here I think there's a lot of gatekeeping, and I'll give you an example. But also, like the work that I'm doing, especially with our event, I'd love for you guys to come. We've got, we've got corporate sponsors now. So one of the things that we saw was the trust that black businesses have with banks is the lowest of any demographic, any ethnic group. And a lot of the banks and a lot of the brand, they're trying to figure out why. They actually want to build trust with black businesses.
Yeah. I've been seeing HSBC's been doing a lot.
HSBC's doing a lot, like
Barclays started as well.
Yeah. Lloyd's, they're sponsoring our event. They've got like a black business program. Like they're really, these guys are trying, right? Yeah. And there's a report from the the British Business Bank. So this is actually a government-owned agency.
Okay.
Remember back in the day, they used to give, what was those loans? Startup loans.
Yeah.
That was a government thing to get people to start a business. So they're the only bank in the country that can actually capture ethnicity data.
Okay.
So the rest of the banks can't ask you, Chiz, are you black or whatever. So when somebody gets rejected a loan, unless it's because the manager sees you and says, no, he's a black man, I'm not giving him, it's all algorithm and based on your thing, right? So there's that. Whereas when the British business thing, they had data, they were able to break it down. They found things like, for example, one, black businesses, we tend to start businesses to help our community more than any other ethnicity.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, when I saw that piece of data, I was like, oh, but hold on. When we listen to issues in the black community, people always say, oh, black people don't work together, black business, this, but we are the one ethnicity that actually wants to start businesses to support our community. What lacks is the funding. Right?
Okay.
Like, we don't have the funding to maybe start. For example, like, I know a few of my friends that I went uni with, the moment they started their business, they could just go to their uncle and be like, uncle, give me 10 bags, Like, in our community, it's hard because people don't have it. You know what I'm saying? So one of the things that I'm definitely working on is like, how can and you guys are a big part of this, is like, how can we start having conversations that can educate our community around, like, crowdfunding, even things like your credit rating is a big reason why people don't the thing. I'll tell you a story. So the company that I mentioned to you called Dyke & Dryden, the one that were in Tottenham, they were making 5 million in 1986, So apparently around that time they went to get a loan for their business and they didn't get it.
Okay.
Now they're the biggest company in the culture at the time, and it went around in North London and wider in the black community that Dyke & Dryden couldn't get a bank loan. So now imagine what message that sends to everyone else, right?
If they can't, then how?
If they can't, exactly. And I think we also need to. That's their truth, right? When I read the book, he went to get a personal loan and he was able to get it, and he figured out actually it was that specific manager that was being prejudiced, let's say. But the culture didn't hear that part. Now the narrative goes out there that banks aren't lending to black people. And I always say one of the challenges of being an ethnic minority group is that we live through we live through each other's experiences.
Each other's trauma.
We live through each other, exactly. So like, for example, if I go to a barbershop and I'm hearing somebody say, oh, this company did this to me, I buy into that. I'm like, okay, I'm never gonna go bank with that company. Oh, you know what I'm trying to say? But really, it's like, okay, bro, like, so why did the bailiffs take your stuff? Where's the element of accountability there? Because now I'm like, a bailiff has taken something from someone from my community. Now bailiffs are bad, right? Versus actually the accountability is like, yeah, bro, I didn't pay my bills, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So we also need to open up space for us to have those kind of conversations, because look, every community makes mistakes. The challenge is when we make a mistake and we share it with our community, sometimes we go straight into, it's because I'm black. And it might be the case, but the problem that happens is that gets passed on for generations. Because the first thing that attracted me to that business was the punchline that they made 5 million, even though banks wouldn't lend to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is true, but it's also half true because they still ended up
There's a
getting the
reason,
loan.
yeah.
But,
Still got the loan,
as
but
a,
yeah.
but as a culture, we held on to that narrative. So I think one thing that I'm trying to do, and like I say, I keep saying, for me, podcasters are the influencers of the future. Like what you guys are doing is heavily influential because I watch you guys. I give you guys an hour of my time every day. So it's like
Every day.
not every day.
I was gonna say you're the number one fan, boy.
Right? But so
whenever it comes out.
whenever it comes out, yeah. So it's like there's also an element of responsibility of like bringing in different voices
Yeah.
where we can in a comfortable space challenge some of the stuff because most businesses grow through bank loans.
Facts.
Most businesses go through bank loans. So if we as a culture we're not having relationships with those, we're missing out massively. And it could be just yes, one person had a negative experience. We also need to then step back as a culture. Okay, why was that?
Why did that happen?
Why did it happen? Because we're missing out on a lot of opportunity. So and just to summarize on that, I feel like my goal and everything we're doing is just making sure that we give the information to the people. When you're starting out a business, it's okay to grow slow. Do you know what I mean? It's okay to build a relationship with your bank from early because go for it. Because one thing I've actually learned with this banking thing, how to get a loan, it's all relationships.
Yeah.
So imagine you book a
and not having a CCJ. Because what is it? Yeah, it is relationships. So if your credit is good, definitely relationships.
Yeah.
You can still get a loan with a CCJ, depending on what you got the CCJ for. You're right, but at the same time, it's
Or you
not
can get
always,
CCJs removed.
Yeah, you can, but
with the knowledge
it's not
and
always
the
racism.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you said, credit rating is definitely one of the big
always
things.
racism sometimes.
Yeah, credit rating is definitely a big thing. Like, make sure your credit is back. And also, you got to realize when you go to get a business loan, the only thing they can go by is your personal credit. Because there's no other thing
There's no other business credit
to go by. So there's that. So credit is definitely one. But the part about relationship is like, say I open up a bank. Like I opened up with one of the fintech banks, like you know the Monzos and the Starlink, because they're easy to open up. The challenge is when my business got to a certain point, like I could not get a certain loan from them, but just because they're not big institutional banks. That makes sense. And a lot of the e-com businesses that we work with have faced the same thing. Easy to open up a bank with a smaller bank.
To get money from them,
but to get money is different because they're just about starting you. Whereas if you open up one with say a bigger thing, you may have a manager who can kind of work with you along the way. So at the point where maybe your business is struggling with cash flow, they can vouch for you.
Yeah.
So there's all these little things that I'm learning, and I'm like, we've got to get this out to the culture because these are the things that everyone else knows.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like everyone else knows that this is the game you play, and leverage is everything in business. Like. You're starting businesses and stuff, and you've talked about like opening restaurants and stuff. Like you understand the importance of leverage, and so and that's what we're working on at the moment.